YouTube, what is going on? It's your boy Jordan JC back again on the Chicago Bears Breeze. And today we got a good one because Ding Dong, the witch is dead. Oh my goodness. Matt Eberflus has been fired. It has finally happened. And because of that, we can now breathe. We have a sigh of relief. Chicago Bears fans, I know you are relieved. As you can see, a lot of the Chicago Bears players are relieved. There's a lot of crap that has been going on behind the closed doors. You saw some of the reports of what happened in the locker room with Jalen Johnson. You see the cryptic tweets by Jaquan Brisker. My goodness, it's a new day. And so we move forward. Thank goodness the Chicago Bears did something right by getting rid of the problem, getting rid of the poison before the season actually ended. The first time in history, which is insane to say. But they move forward with interim head coach Thomas Brown, who, again, formerly was the OC. He's still going to hold those duties and initially came in as the passing game coordinator when Shane Waldron was the first OC for this season. And so now the question on the table today is, does Thomas Brown get a real shot at actually keeping that position, or is he sort of a placeholder for some of the candidates that we've been talking about for a while now? Well, let's get into it. Well, I'll put it like this. My vote. If Thomas Brown, as you have seen in the past 3 games, you're talking about going up against 3 divisional rivals, very challenging games. A lot of people thought that we would get blown out by all of these teams. You faced the Green Bay team when you lost by 1. You faced the Minnesota Vikings team and you lost by 3. You faced a Detroit Lions team that has been just a juggernaut all on defense, in the run game, in the pass game. Jared Goff looks like an MVP with the efficient throwing. I mean, they have everything. They have one of the probably the best offensive lines in football. And you thought that you were coming into this game just to kind of be some sort of science project or experiment, because we thought that we were going to get ran over, and yet we only lost by 3 and had a chance to win in the long run, at the end of the game. And so with that in mind, you look at the results of all of these games. Yes, they are losses. But with Thomas Brown as the OC, you see that there has been competency. You see that there has been consistency in the play calling, in the offense actually putting up points. And it now seems as if the defense is taking a step back in giving up more points. But just in particular, talking about Thomas Brown, you see the improvement. You see the work ethic improve. You see the respect in the locker room improve for a guy like this. And there's reasons why. And just to his credit, there Andrew Whitworth, who tweeted this out. He said, I'll say this again for all NFL execs. Thomas Brown, he is a leader of men. He is a rare cat. Will be a head coach. And as you can see, he is an interim head coach now, but we'll see if he retains that actual title. He says, I have always felt the young offensive side of the ball. And he compares himself to Mike Tomlin. Now, of course, on the show, we always joke, and I've joked plenty of times that, hey, he's Mike Tomlin 2.0. No, it's not just because of the way he looks. He's black, he got a beard, and he has this stoic look and this mean stare. And no, it's because he actually has a demeanor and a certain the way he carries himself reminds me of Mike Tomlin. It talks about the conviction and knowing exactly who he is and what he's about. He's about the right stuff. And even you saw Sean McVay give him his own flowers as well, give him kudos recently, saying that here's a guy who is very disciplined and he demands respect. He demands that you give your best because that's just the way he carries himself. He says that there's just a certain aura about him. There's certain people that you go up against. He said even though he's worked with him and, in LA when they won the Super Bowl, he's also faced against him. He said there's just certain people that you go up against and you can just tell that they have that certain presence about them and that they are leaders of men. And so with the Bears organization coming out now saying that in their next head coach search, in their evaluation of the people that are going to be candidates going forward into the offseason, do you take a shot at just keeping this interim head coach in Thomas Brown when you've seen that he already has a good connection with Caleb Williams? He already has a good connection with a lot of players in the locker room. Cole Kmet has spoken highly of him. Jalen Johnson has spoken highly of him. And there are certain things that you just get from him when he talks in front of the press that you didn't get from Matt Eberflus. There's just an aura of confidence and conviction. Now, of course, that also still has to come with winning, right? I believe that these next few games going into the end of the season will impact whether or not the Chicago Bears leadership and brass move forward in trying to go for another leader of men type, a guy with experience, a guy with grit, a guy that just breathe Chicago and that can represent what Chicago is all about. A guy that is a hard worker, has good work ethic, has a good, obviously, track record of winning, and knows how to demand a room full of grown men. But I will say this: I think Thomas Brown is old and deserves all of the opportunity to get that first shot, and he will. I mean, obviously, he's been put in that position now with Eberflus gone. Again, thank goodness for that. But we have to see it, right? We have to continue to see the progress. And we have seen it over the past couple of games. You've seen Caleb Williams just continue to evolve as the obvious quarterback for the future. I don't think there's any more questions about whether or not Caleb Williams is going to be the Chicago Bears quarterback going into the future. He is the guy. He is the star. He will be that guy for the Bears team. Now it's just a matter of consistency. Now it's just a matter of continuing to grow along with the coordinators and the head coaches. And so, because you already have this good thing going with Thomas Brown, hopefully it continues. And hey, we probably might see some wins. Now, what will it take for him to stick around? I'll be honest with you. If there's something like if the Bears go about, I would say 5-0 and they eke into the playoffs, or even if they don't eke into the playoffs, but you finish the regular season going 5-0, that will scream success, in my opinion. Because not only is Thomas Brown looking at things from just the offensive side of the ball now you have your hand in all of the different areas, and roles and responsibilities are heightened now for you as a head coach. Now you're back out of the box and you have to stand on the sideline. So does the offensive play calling still look good when his vantage point is back on the field? You know, he's not just up in the box, because now he has to kind of cater to the entire team. He has to look out for what's going on in the defense. He has his role has expanded. And so that's what I'm looking for. Will it look the same while he's standing down there in the field? What sort of position will he look? Will he? I heard someone say on a radio show, will he kind of stand behind the offense, or will he stand in front of the offense and look at it from the defensive side to know what to call and to kind of continue that back and forth with Caleb Williams, getting the play calls in faster, making sure that you all are on the same page. Also, I would love to see how he utilizes his timeouts. I mean, my goodness, that will probably be one of the biggest things is in those moments of crunch time. How will you utilize the things that you have at your disposal, the timeouts? How will you utilize your stars? How will you play call? All of those different things are going to matter in these next 5 games when it comes to him and evaluating whether or not he is actually ready for this big of a role, because he's been groomed to be. A lot of people are saying some of the great things about him. I mean, to get this in a sense, star approval from Sean McVay is huge. But I mean, at the same time, Sean McVay is a guy he worked with. And so is it just kind of the buddy thing, just like how Andy Reid was with Matt Nagy? Or is this legit? And so we're going to find out very soon after this long bye week, in a sense, coming off the Detroit loss, and see if Thomas Brown is going to be that guy. I have full confidence that I think at the very least, he will make sure that everybody is ready to go. He will make sure that there's discipline. He will make sure that there's respect. There's not going to be any blowups in locker room explosions where the head coach has to leave because players are just going in on him. I think that we finally now have a culture that's going to be created, and it starts with a guy like Thomas Brown, I think, at the helm. Now, does that mean that they don't go for, the shiny new toys and a Ben Johnson, Drew Petzing? You have Mike Vrabel. You got Joe Brady. Like, those names are still going to be names that I think that they evaluate. And of course, you heard that Kevin Warren is going to kind of be spearheading this search for the next head coach if need be. But I think that with these next games, they also have to factor in, well, what does Thomas Brown do? Because there's also a thing to be said about continuity. And because you already have this guy in the building, I think that's very important as well, to keep that talent in the building if you see him be successful, if you see the wins stack up, or if you at the very least see the Caleb Williams is continuing to develop and this team is looking good and they're staying right there in these games. I mean, the fact that the Bears have only lost these last 3 games by a total of a touchdown and a field goal, 7 points, is beyond me, because you did not think that they would be in these games against their division rivals, especially Detroit, the way they've been blowing teams out. And so it's impressive that they're actually It almost seems as if they're right there, right? The record obviously is not showing it, but you see the play on the field. You see their chances at actually having a chance to win at the end of the games. But it requires good leadership. It requires good play calling. It requires good situational awareness. And I think that's what you want to see from him versus the other candidates that we could possibly bring in. Now, I will say, from my opinion, if we do move forward from Thomas Brown, whether or not he's good or not, or what he shows, and they say, we still want somebody with more experience that has already been there and done that as an actual head coach for years, then I know me and Pat and many people have said, you know what, Mike Vrabel would be a very good candidate. But here's the reason why I put a little bit of a pause on that. Let's just say we were to bring a Mike Vrabel in, and let's just say we put Thomas Brown back at OC. At this point, if Mike Vrabel was successful, usually, and the offense looks good for the next year, usually that means the offensive coordinator is going to find some sort of head coaching job. And so now we're starting that carousel back over when it comes to needing some sort of offensive mind. Now you're teaching Caleb Williams another set of play schemes and another play caller's playbook. Like you're starting over with him. That's something that we don't need to do. That's one of the things this organization has to stop doing as well, is continuing that carousel. And so, in my opinion, I think it's imperative that if there is a new head coach, he has to be offensive minded. It has to be the Ben Johnsons or the Drew Petzings or the Joe Brady's. It has to be, because if you want somebody, even though those names are really, really good, and Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll and all these other names and Mike Vrabel that are defensive minded and are historic coaches in this game and in football, period, you're still going to lose your offensive coordinator at a certain point if this team is successful. And so I think the best way to go is to finally have a head coach like a Thomas Brown, who is offensive minded, who knows the offensive side of the game, can call that game, and then continue to stick with that rather than trying to start it over. And so that's just my opinion. Want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Do you think that Thomas Brown deserves and will actually get a fair shot at becoming the next, not just interim head coach as he is now, but actual head coach? Or do you think that these other options are better options going forward, despite whatever Thomas Brown does? Let's just say Thomas Brown just shows up and shows out, goes 5-0, and these guys are humming, and somehow, some way, they make it into the wild card. They're still in the hunt, and they're successful, or they just end out the season not getting into the playoffs, but still you have hope and you see the light at the end of the tunnel going into the next season. What would you do? I know personally I would love to keep him if that's the case, but there's other names out there. Who would you want here? Do you go offensive minded head coach, or do you go defensive minded head coach and hope for the best with the next OC? We'll see. But of course, obviously, I'm going to be down there with you all in the comment section to hear your thoughts. And as always, if you like this video, show some class. Comment, like, and subscribe, share this video with others. I'll see you guys on the next Bears Breeze.